All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Talking some baseball. Baseball all day, Gyiraszin. Some early baseball, some afternoon baseball locking in 6 minutes, some main slate baseball. Baseball all day. NBA. There's NBA tonight as well. A nice slate, 4 to 5 p.m. or 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Then you have a 2-hour window. Do whatever you want. One game later. MLB, NBA. Plenty of money to be made. Time to build some PGA lineups tonight as well. We got you covered at SHIPITNation.com. Bringing in my man Gyiraszin first. 4 to 6, you said, on the slate plan. Went deep yesterday. Gyiraszin on fire right now, baby. How are you doing on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
But hey, I'm not having a good Wednesday afternoon as our boy Rio. Man, crushing it last night in the NBA streets. Love to see it. So I got to give a shout out to our boy Rio. Congrats. Still crushing it over there in NBA. So it's good to see. But, man, Title, we lost the game today. We lost 20% of our slate already with the Tigers and Mets getting rained out, but we got 4-gamer here today. But you might do this one pretty quick, but I think we can get through it. I think we can figure out how we're going to get to the top and get us up at the top where it says ship it. We're going to have us a little safety meeting. I got a high noon. I'm ready to roll. Let's do it.
Let's do this, baby. I might have one after. Safety meeting, that is. No high noon. After this show. Little celebratory before the big boy slate starts. Lyle in here. Gator in here. I did see that. Ryan Jeffers went deep. I did see that, unfortunately. Richie Smalls in here as well. Appreciate everyone hanging out like we always say. Like button helps us out a ton. Subscribe button helps us out a ton as well. And if you want to join us at the Nation, first, if you want to join all the sports, yeah, shout out Rio. $70,000 in the NBA streets. Still good NBA prizes, people taking off or quitting or whatever it may be. We're still grinding over here. I'm in the streets all the time. Cash report, core, slate plan, everything's still premium. Projections updated throughout the night. We just transitioned NBA shows to MLB. So if you still want Rio slate plan, all of our NBA content, all of our PGA content, MMA content, NHL content, NASCAR content, we all have you covered at SHIPITNation.com. No better price in the industry. Can make the price even better. Hoop 15 on monthly, 6-month, or annual packages. Bring it down. And then weekly does not have any package. You cannot use Hoop 15. Excuse me. We have a weekly package. You can't use Hoop 15, and it does not come with the Discord. But if you want to check us out, see what we have on the site for a week, the lowest price, and then see if you want to go with the monthly, 6-month, whatever it may be. We do also have a weekly option for all of our content on the site. If you just want MLB only for the year, use that code MLB15. $39 a month without using the code brings you about $1 a day. Season, $229. I think it's like $195 after you use the promo code MLB15. Feels like MLB is going on over half the year. $195 for plenty of months. Projections, ceiling rank or pitcher rankings, stack rankings, hitter rankings, core reports, Discord, everything again you need in the MLB streets. We have you covered. If you're just doing MLB in the summer, MLB only, we got you. If you want PGA, MMA, NBA, all of the other sports, Hoop 15 is the move. 15% off. Gyiraszin, I'll go with broad slate overviews quickly, and then I'll throw it to you before you go pitcher game by game. And, yeah, it's very easy to go broad slate overview. So there's no Mets and Detroit game. The second day in a row it got postponed. So 5 games down to 4 games. Colorado, Chicago, iffy weather again, just like yesterday. Snowing, raining, cold. That game could get scratched maybe. Roth has it as orange-yellow. Just be cautious with it. Obviously, a lot of morning games had weather as well. That game's at 7:40 Eastern, which the slate locks at 6:45 Eastern. So 4 games without the Mets, Detroit, that Colorado game, and Chicago has weather. Maybe 3 games. And as far as ownership, I mean, it's easy on DK. I know you play a lot on FanDuel. DK, Glasnow, Mitch Keller. That'll be the popular pairing. Glasnow, far and away the most popular pitcher on the slate. As far as stacks, I mean, everyone's going to jam, I think, Pittsburgh. Look at the team totals on the slate. 5.1 for Pittsburgh, 5 for Houston, 5.2 for the Dodgers. and Pittsburgh's by far the cheapest of all three of those stacks to fit a Glasnow, et cetera. So easy to get different, I think, on the slate. Keller, Glasnow, Pittsburgh on DraftKings, the chalk. And then on FanDuel, one pitcher site, Glasnow far and away, only 10K, stands out in a tier of his own. I still think Pittsburgh gets ownership. Some of these Astros are a little cheaper on FanDuel. Like none of them above 4K. Yordong, Tucker, Altuve, they're going to get some ownership. The Astros a little more on FanDuel. Any broad slate overviews? The show is obviously going to be probably a little quicker than usual. If people have questions, we can bring it up. Yeah, if you want to talk a little football, Stephon Diggs of the Texans. Yeah, I mean, we have plenty of time. But broad slate overview before you go pitcher.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. And going off, path a little bit there to Diggs to the Texans. When I saw that, I thought, man, at least they're getting that kid C.J. Stroud some weapons there to deal with. So they can build a little offensive line there. You still need time to throw the ball to get those guys open. But man, what a. I mean, it kind of sucks because if you had like Tank Dell in your dynasty leagues, you're like, oh man, I got the man. Now all of a sudden.
I mean, now he's going to be single covered down the field, though. Nico and him, he'll be running loose. I mean, that team's nasty.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. It's definitely going to get interesting. I just said there's 3 mouths to feed over there, though. But yeah, man, we love some football over here at SHIPIT. But going to what you're saying, with these games, you talked about the team totals there with the Dodgers being on top. I mean, but they got a tough matchup with that kid, that Kyle Harrison kid. I mean, this guy, he's definitely a tough matchup. I couldn't roster him because they're playing the Dodgers. Mookie smacks lefties like no tomorrow, and he's seeing beach balls right now. So definitely don't want to be playing against Mookie at this point. And Smith's been hitting the ball really well, so really not interested there. I mean, if you wanted to go off path, talking about some of the pitching, Harrison's the guy.
Let's just get into it.
You definitely could look at if you want. But for me, like you mentioned, Glasnow for me is a lock on both sites. I'm locking them on FanDuel. I'll figure out how to get a little bit different with some bats. I mean, Glasnow's projection is literally, just depending on what you're looking at, anywhere between 7 to 8, 10 point different from the second guy down. So it's Glasnow just has the upside there. Definitely if he has 45 point night, 40 point night, which is definitely doable for him. I don't see these other guys really that have good paths to get up to that. I mean, the only other guys, you look at here, they're even viable between, Bassett and Javier. Javier kind of started out a little slow, didn't really have his velocity, didn't have too many swing and misses in his first start. So you kind of worry about him a little bit. But, Bassett, he just sucks against lefties. And, two strengths of the Houston Astros, Kyle Tucker and Alvarez, sitting right up there at the top of that lineup, is definitely two interesting guys. I love me some Kyle Tucker tonight, one of my top bats. But I just don't like enough of the stack all the way up and down. You did mention Houston's got some pretty cheap bats in their lineup. I do agree. They don't really have, that high of a K rate as far as against what Bassett's bringing to the table. Bassett only had 20% K rate versus righties last year, 24% against lefties, but the hard hit rate against lefties is what stood out for me. But, I just going back and forth, I was looking at it. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is going to be kind of popular. I think Jake Sawinski's a pretty good play today. Brian Hayes has been hitting the ball really well. I think that's interesting. Rowdy Tellez, but I'd be lay caution to him. Pretty big pinch hit risk. We see that quite a bit with him over the years. He gets 2 at-bats in a game, and, when you need him to get you some points there at the end and he gets pinch hit, there's nothing more tilting than that. But they're definitely interesting for me today, as you mentioned. I think if you're going Glasnow, I think Pittsburgh's the way to go. If you don't have Glasnow, you best be punching that Mookie Betts and Dodger stack, because you're not going to probably get there if you use Glasnow. So, either way, it's going to be either way for me. I think I'm just going to lean the Glasnow route. If Glasnow does get beat up and you go the Mookie Betts route and the Dodger route, I think, that would be a clear path. I could see that definitely happening, and you're probably going to get it pretty low owned just because everybody is probably going to. Glasnow is going to be over 50%. I'm going to assume on both sides.
Both sides. He'll be more on DK because you got to roster 2 pitchers. Like in the flagship, you're probably looking at 80% is my guess today.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. So
yeah,
for me, I mean, some of these other guys I'm just not interested in down here at all. I'm not interested in Cal Quantrill. I'm not interested in Luke Little. That's pretty much a bullpen game. They're talking about Brown coming in after him. So that's interesting. Trevor Williams, no thanks.
What about Brown right there on DK? 4K min price. Now, obviously, you have to make sure you'd feel fine with the weather. It sounds like, and you don't even know Brown's for sure going to come in. So, like, 0 is in the realm. But if you're talking 20, 50, 100 teams on a 4-game slate, like, pitching's gross. If you go Brown Glass now, you can get Dodgers, like a 5-man stack that some won't have, etc. Because I'm just looking on DK. FanDuel easy. Play Glass now. If you want to go Keller, Javier, whatever, they still have somewhat of the upside. No need to mess with these Trevor Williams, etc. DK, though, I want you a little – you said no Quantrill. You said no Trevor Williams. You said no Kyle Harrison. Kyle Harrison's a little interesting on DK. If you just want to get – I mean, the strikeout prop's good, 5.5, juice on the under, very good K numbers in the minors. I mean, he's a lefty, and some of the best bats, Freddie Freeman, obviously these guys can hit lefties there, but Muncy, Ohtani, Freddie, there's a lot of lefties in that Dodgers lineup. Can you make a case down there? Like 7 point – I'm trying to get different. I know I'm playing Glass now. I like Washington side. Like, we'll get to bats. I think playing Washington against Chalk, Mitch Keller, 4-game slate, you got to do something different. I think you can definitely play bats against your pitchers. I would rather not go a giant against Glass now, but whoever your SP2 is, definitely can play a bat against them. Just talking game theory and stuff. Anyone down there that you can make a case for on DK? You're on mute. And what's going on, Maul? What's going on, Lance?
My stinking dog's barking up there. I got some donkey FedEx guy that won't take the hint. Like, just drop it on the porch, dude. But anyway, Harrison's interesting. I just can't stomach that. It'd be too hard for me to even think about going against the Dodgers. I guess if you really wanted to mix it up a little bit, I mean, Harrison you could go with. But to me, Mitch Keller's my number 2 guy after our boy Glass now. The only reason being is you take out just his crappy start. You look at these K numbers. You got Joey Gallo on the other side. Man, that dude's almost 2 Ks within itself, probably 3. So, right there, that guy's got a 42% K rate. So anytime, one of your guys is going against Joey, you can almost count up 2 Ks automatic. So, that's something that I was just kind of looking at there. We don't got much to pick from. We only got 4 games. No. So, we got thin pickings, but you could mix it up. You want 100. That Brown move is interesting. If you wanted to go some Dodgers at that point, I don't think too many people will have the stomach to do that. From what I've been kind of seeing, I read in a couple places, they're expecting if he does come out, he could get up to 60 pitches. So we could see 4 or 5 innings out of that guy. He could actually be in line for the win. So that's what you'd be hunting for right there in the middle of that game. So, not too bad there, but yeah, we got some rough pickings here tonight, but you know what? We still got us a Wednesday night. We got some baseball. I'm not complaining. I'm going to bowl me another 300 tonight, drink some high noons, have some fun, have a safety meeting, and, watch some baseball. It'll be a good time. Too bad my Tigers ain't on. At least it's been fun. They're 4-0. We don't know what that's like around here. The Lions been winning. Tigers are winning. What the hell?
It's a long season, G.
Hey, the world actually is a little screwed up when that shit's happening. When, that stuff happening.
Yeah, you got Michigan, who's good in a lot of sports. Yeah, Detroit's living life over there. So I'll wrap up pitching quick. Sweat in the early slate now. Good luck, Lance. Good luck, man. Take something down. Colin's in here. Jake's in here. Didn't say hi to everyone. Appreciate everyone hanging out. So I'm just going to wrap up pitching. My final thoughts. Glass now, yeah. I lock for me. If you have 150 lineups, I'm not clicking the lock button. Most people probably 20 and below. I'm taking my points, moving on. Javier would be my second favorite at 8-8, and there's plenty of salary to make those two work. Minus 165 favorite against Toronto. Should have run support behind him. No Chris Bassett. Yeah, Mitch Keller, he'd be my third, I guess, but he's chalk. Like, everyone's going Glass now Keller. If I'm already going, people are going to go Javier too. Like, maybe Mitch Keller's 35%, Javier's 30, 25. I don't know. I still prefer Javier. I like going some of these Nats against Keller, but if you're not going Nats, Keller's interesting to me. No Cal Quantrill, no. Yeah, man. I guess Cal Quantrill or Trevor Williams if you had to pick Gyiraszin. For me, though, Cal Quantrill if that game does play and you get word from Roth and everything, it looks fine. I don't think, snowing, 40 degrees, 37, like feeding into the pitchers in that game. Cal Quantrill at 5.3 is a punt, or Ben Brown, which has a very risk to get 0, but he's supposed to be the long reliever. And at min price 4K, you need what on this slate? 7 points could be enough. 9 points could be enough, depending on what these others do. So, yeah, my final breakdown, Glass now, all the lineups, Javier 2, Keller 3, and I guess one of these Cubs, Ben Brown or Quantrill, if the game gets the green light because of the weather. Final thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much you got it spot on as far as I'm concerned. As you mentioned, I'm really not interested in Quantrill at all. This guy's freaking numbers are terrible. Last year, 7% K rate against righties, 18% against lefties.
I want 10 points. I want 9 points.
Yeah, I get you just want some outs there, right? Maybe he squeaks you out a win if he gets real lucky. So, yeah, that's what we're looking for tonight, right? So if you're going to go Quantrill, I'd just go Brown and say, hey, I got a better chance
I like it.
at that point. So for me, that's why I'd kind of cancel him out. Javier, Bassett, to me, they're kind of in the same boat there. Keller was just a little more interesting because I thought, he's got a little bit more strikeout potential there against the Nats. But I actually think if Keller's struggling a little bit, the Nats were interesting for me, as
get right into that.
Transition right into some bats.
Yeah,
I think that
first game.
Yeah, that Nat stack for me, man, I think that's pretty interesting here tonight. CJ Abrams, that's definitely an interesting spot. The top of that lineup, I think, is interesting. And you're trying to look at how to be maybe a little different. How many people are going to feel comfortable clicking on Nats bats here tonight? You're going to click on Joey Gallo and be happy. Eddie Rosario, Winker, Thomas, Abrams. But you look at the over-under in this game, it's sitting at 9. There's really not too many other spots to go. We look at that Cubs game, it's supposed to be snowing there. It's cold as can be, wind blowing in like 15 to 20 miles an hour from what I read. You're really going to have to get one over the fence over there today in Wrigley. So I'm not really interested in any of those guys. So, just to try to be different, I think what stands out to me is probably loading up on some Nats. I think everybody's going to go to Dodgers, Houston, and Toronto. I think that Houston-Toronto game is going to be really popular as far as bats. So, yeah, I think Kyle Tucker is probably going to be the highest owned bat on the slate, in my opinion. Yeah.
So if he talks FanDuel, most people watching, Gyiraszin is talking FanDuel, and I think it's going to be Glass now on both sites, but I do think.
Well, as far as bats, Kyle Tucker will probably be the highest owned bat, I think.
Yeah. Him, Yordan, Gallo is pretty cheap too on FanDuel.
Yeah.
First base, outfield. Yeah. Touch on some of these Pittsburgh bats though, like O'Neal Cruz, Jack Sawinski. Like these guys are going to be pop on all sites. Rowdy, Brian Reynolds. They're just so cheap. Like the roster construction. Glass now, either Keller or Javier. I think people will side with the 600 savings. And then Astros, Dodgers, and Pittsburgh, the only clear teams in a tier of their own in terms of run totals. These guys are so much cheaper. Rowdy, 2.8K. Brian Hayes, 4.4. Sawinski, 3. Like they're just too cheap compared to you want the Dodgers, Mookie, Ohtani. It's hard to play all of them. So that's why I think Pittsburgh will be very popular on both sides. The most popular on DK. FanDuel, maybe more Houston, a little maybe more Dodgers. But talk about some of your favorite Pittsburgh bets. Or do you just want to not eat that chalk? If you're eating enough chalk, like if I had to pick right now, I think you can get away from Keller. I think you can get away from Pittsburgh bats. Maybe some of them, whatever. But like if they're going to be that popular, you got to get different on a 4-game slate. I'm not fading Glass now and getting different that way. So I'd rather get different with the bats personally. But yeah, touch on some of these pick guys.
Yeah, Pittsburgh stands out just because of their prices, right? And they got a high team total, as you mentioned earlier. They're only 3 teams over 5. They're one of the 3 sitting there at 5.0. So, I like Jack Sawinski. He's sitting there in the 4-hole. He's really cheap. 368 WOBA against righties last year. Brian Hayes has been hitting the ball really well so far out the gate. You got the O'Neal Cruz. That kid's dynamic. That kid can just smash the shit out of ball. As I mentioned, you got that old wily veteran, Talese, down there. Home run power. He's already hit one. But the problem I have is with him, you always got to be hesitant there and think about, could he get pinch hit for? But, if they get out to a lead, this Washington bullpen stinks. So for me, I think, it's the obvious spot. It's kind of like a situation I was thinking about it earlier. It was kind of like last night, right? Like the Cubs were like staring you in the face. Like they were basically telling you the Rockies suck. They do suck. We got to keep remember they suck. They really suck. So to me, like we got to keep attacking them kind of spots, even though we can figure out how to be different. Like tonight, if you like some Pirates, don't be afraid to play Jared Trillo down there in the 8 hole and maybe have a little wraparound there. I don't mind that at all. That's a good way of getting a little bit different. So, don't be afraid of these Pirates. I like these Pirates in this spot. I mean, this bullpen's terrible. So, for me, I think Pirates. Jake Sawicki, one of my top bats here today. I definitely like him. So, yeah, give me some of these Pirates. I think it's a good spot. I like I said, I like this game stack because if Keller just isn't quite right, he's going to be pretty popular, especially on DK. And you throw yourself in some of these Nat bats here, especially top of the lineup, CJ Abrams. He's hell of a player. You got Thomas, Winker, you got Joey Gallo, you even got Rosario sitting down there in the 7th spot. So, I mean, if you really wanted to, you definitely could look at some Nats. Myron the Kid mentioned Brian Reynolds too. Absolutely. Didn't mean to leave him out. He's another great bat in that lineup too there for the Pirates. But yeah, I think this game to me has got, maybe it's a 7-4 game, 7-5 game. I think that could win. That could win today. So, I think this game stack's interesting. And you look too, both of these teams have played nothing but overs. Not one of these two teams' games have been under. So I think one's like 5-0, 6-0, and the other one's 5-0, something like that. I looked it up earlier. So they've all played over the number both times, all their games. So I think that one's something definitely interesting.
I like it. Yeah, great info. What's going on, Takedown? So my final thoughts to wrap up this game. Yeah, I prefer Nats on DK than FanDuel because you get way more direct leverage off of Keller because you have to play 2 pitchers. So I will say that to start. But man, you can go across. O'Neal Cruz is going to be way higher on than CJ Abrams. I'm not saying these guys none of these Nats are going to get any ownership. And I think they do get a little steam, some of these Nats. I don't think we're going to be the only ones talking like, wow, Keller, chalk, SP2 clearly looks over-owned. Let's play some. I don't think we're going to be the only ones saying that. It's this earlier in the year, so I guess I'll look at ownership and see how much do things swing. Because in MMA, people get sharp, like line movement and stuff. Sometimes you get surprised with ownership. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on Nats ownership and how much people like leverage, I guess, this early in the year in baseball. But CJ Abrams, easy pivot off the shortstop for chalkier Cruz. Rowdy Tellez, first base. Joey Gallo in the 4-hole, easy pivot right there. Who's cheap, a bunch of power. 2 strikeouts for sure, maybe. If he doesn't strike out, though, that ball might be going a mile deep. So I think he's very interesting. Someone mentioned Keibert Ruiz at catcher. I think he's also interesting. This Trey Lipscomb guy at third base. Can Brian Hayes go on the other side of the Nats? So you can get a lot of chalkier Pittsburgh stuff, a lot of good plays on that Nat side at the same position is how I see it. A couple of my favorites, Lane Thomas, Eddie Rosario, had good numbers last year against righties. Pittsburgh side, Ryan Reynolds, excuse me. Myron mentioned it. I mean, absolutely smashed. 354 WOBA last year, 231 against righties in the 2-hole. Sawinski dominated them. Rowdy's got some pop. I don't even mind going to the bottom of the order a little bit as a wraparound. I guess that's if you want to go Pittsburgh, I think you mix in maybe a couple chalky ones at the top of the order and hope some of these guys down below. People aren't going to play Henry Davis at catcher, Jared Trillo at third, et cetera, because they're going to go Cabrian. That's how I think you can get different in Pittsburgh stacks. We spent enough time on that game, though. Pittsburgh, Washington, an important one to talk about, though. Pittsburgh chalky, Washington some leverage off of Mitch Keller. Next game, the weather game on the slate. Rockies, Cubs, like 40 degrees in Chicago, 7 over under. Cal Quantrill, Luke Little on the mound. And it looks like, again, Luke Little going to Brown is a bullpen game, but we do not know for sure about that. But I expect Brown to get the bulk of the innings compared to Little personally, if you want to play one of them. I'll throw it to you in this one. I don't want any bets. Like I said, I'd rather play Cal Quantrill than some of these Cubs, as crazy as that might sound. I'd rather play Brown than these Rockies. Like I'd rather pretty much every other game on the slate. I don't like bats in 35-degree weather. So anything for you?
Yeah, I don't either, but let's not be fooled. I mean, this Rocky team is sucks. I mean, they are god awful. So, I mean, hey, I'm starting to kind of lean a little bit on the Cubs as I think about it here, because if it does play, the Cubs definitely in a neutral weather environment would be probably by far the chalkiest team. So, we're buying into quite a bit on Mr. Weatherman in a slate where we really don't see any spots that are really standing out to me. So, maybe that is a place that can be looked at. So I'm just saying don't undervalue it. It's not something that I have, really at this point, going to change my mind. But, the more I think about it, I mean, it's definitely a decent way. They put up 12 runs last night. Yeah, sure. It's cold. It's windy. Wind's blowing in. But, if I'm sitting there thinking I need a 7-5 game, 7-4 game, something like that out of that Pittsburgh game, I might be able to get 5-6 runs. You may not get homers, but if they can string together 6-7 at bats in a couple innings, you may be able to get there, by double triples, maybe some, maybe you get one lucky homer or so. So, I'm not really saying to wipe that Cubs spot completely out just because how bad the Rockies have been, man. They are just terrible. So that would be my only thing really with that game. Like I said, I don't have any interest, because of what the weather is. Quantrill's really low strikeouts. Some of the righties would be interesting over there with, top of that lineup there for the Cubs. Basically got all righties except Bellinger there. But I mean, I could be talked into it probably, if somebody really sold me on something there just because it is the Rockies. So, let's not just totally wave that one out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think ownership will dictate a lot of that for me. Like if Roth gave the green light right now to that game, I think some people might think the same. Like people are going to go Dodgers, Houston, Pitt. Let's get some Cubs against an awful Colorado team. They're still going to be low on. The weather stinks right here, right now. I can only imagine 30. When I'm seeing 35, snowy, rainy, like Colorado's bad. They still got some MLB players though, outside against the weather game. But it totally makes sense for what you're saying. What do you guys give the weather grade? Someone asked this earlier, so I have zero clue. All I do is I go to Roto Grinders, Kevin Ross weather report, and how he has it laid out. Like red is really bad. Orange, yellow he has for this game. Orange is bad. Yellow feels a little better. Like Philly, Cincy, KC, Baltimore earlier with just orange, and Atlanta, Chicago. This is orange, yellow, which is a little better. If I'd have a grade, I mean, I don't know, 6 out of 10, scary. 7 out of 10, scary. It's scary for sure. It's not safe. But yeah, it's hard for me to quantify that with someone so naive about weather and stuff like that. Novice might be the right word. Not an English major either.
Yeah, I'm not pretty enough to be a weather dude.
All right, let's keep that rolling. What do we got? 2 games left on the slates. This one's in a dome. Don't have to worry about it. Blue Jays, Astros, Chris Bassett, Christian Javier on the mound. We got a 9 total in this one. Astros 5-team total, one of the highest on the slate. I mean, it's pretty clear on the Houston side. Bassett good against righties, terrible against lefties. Jordan, Kyle Tucker just staring you in the face in the 2-3 hole. Think it's a great mini stack. They still applied 5 runs though, and outside of those two, Yonder Diaz might get a little ownership. He's been really good to start the year. Catcher fills out a pretty bad catcher position. So outside of them though, like I think you're going to get Altuve pretty low owned. Bregman at third base, low owned. These guys no one's playing Jose Abreu. I don't recommend it either. Like a Chas McCormick though in the 7th spot. The lefties for sure, and then if you want to one-off a righty or something, will be pretty low owned is how I see it. If I had to pick a low-owned stack, though, on this slate, I already said the Nats, I guess, but I don't think Blue Jays are the craziest, Gyiraszin. I guess I'll just throw it to you here if you have any interest. A fly ball pitcher against some big bats, Bo, Vlad, Springer, Varsho, like all these guys. I don't even mind Kiermaier down there in the 7 hole. Javier is going to be the 3rd highest owned pitcher on the slate, I think. So the Keller, same thing with the Nats, the leverage. You get it off of Javier. Toronto's been bad, but man, big bats. Some of them are expensive, which they have to be very low owned. Guaranteed 9th inning at bats in a dome, which is good weather right now on April 3rd. Can you talk me into a little Blue Jays? What you got?
Yeah, this one was interesting. I went back and forth at first, but when I was trying to decide which one of these two do I like a little better, I lean the Houston side just because how good Tucker's been so far to start out the year. Jordan hasn't done shit, but Bassett's just been so bad against the lefties. So that's what kind of stood out. But yeah, Javier didn't start out too well. Had a really low swing and strike rate. His first start, I think it was, below 10% for him, which is kind of low for a guy of his strikeout ability. So, some of these pitchers, they just don't come out firing right away. It's like a Keller situation. Javier's kind of in the same boat. So, it is interesting kind of looking at some of these Blue Jays. I don't mind them all the way up and down. Varsho, I think, is pretty interesting for a cheap kind of play here today. Springer, Guerrero, Bichette. I don't mind the top half of this lineup. I'll tell you, Kirk don't strike out against righties either. I mean, this guy's like less than 10%. So he's definitely putting the ball in play. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all. I think you could have a situation where you got two guys already with a start under belt. They're veterans. I think they might come out. They both could feed off each other, have a pretty good game. I think you're going to see a lot of people go to this game as their preferred bats. I think you're going to see, a lot of Houston bats. So to me, like I said, I think Tucker will be very high owned. And to me, that's why I was thinking, well, Nats might move up a little bit for me, especially in that game with the 9 over under. And I'm just going to bank on and try to get the top of the tournament and hope that this game is a dud. And you're going to see a lot of teams, a lot of teams in the tournaments are going to have pieces of this game. And if we can hope that one of those two can have a pretty decent game, or those two pitchers, we might be able to squeak in there, like with the Nat stack, or maybe the Cubs stack sneaks it in there. So, yeah, I'm just kind of hoping this game's a dud. That's what I decided that I'm going to go for. I'm not really enamored with either pitcher either, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm just kind of picking some one-offs here. Kyle Tucker is definitely my favorite on both sides.
So Biggio's second base outfield. I think he said he was third. So I wanted to say that out loud. I will say caution, I guess, a little bit. Varsho, I think, on DraftKings, if he's hitting in the 5 spot like he's expected, 3.6K. Again, good numbers against righties, got some pop. I think he's the most popular Toronto bat. So I think a 3-man stack or something. I don't love the 5-man Toronto. I mean, man, they just have not been great. But leaving off of Varsho and going like a Vlad maybe at something at first base, or Kiermaier, or just anyone really but Varsho. Again, you can make plenty of solid lineups with Varsho, but as a popular one-off for a lot of people, I prefer just getting away from him and taking some of these other Toronto bats. So, yeah, more of a mini stack for me, but I do think Toronto is interesting because Javier is going to be third highest owned pitcher. You get leverage, guaranteed 9th inning at bat, good weather. Javier struggled a little bit, like you said. His swing and miss stuff was down a little bit in the first start. So, yeah, that's really all I got in that one. Mini stack Toronto, can full stack Houston for sure. How does Houston stack up against Pittsburgh and the Dodgers for you?
I'd say they're below. I like both. I like the Dodgers 1, Pittsburgh 2. And I would throw the Cubs up there if it was a neutral weather game, but it's not, obviously. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I go. I would have the Cubs above, Houston or Toronto if the weather was neutral there. But, yeah, for me, I think Dodgers definitely the way to go for me. I think, they're the Dodgers in this kind of slate here today. Definitely have the potential to, put up some runs. But, yeah, that Pittsburgh team, Pittsburgh's a team I normally wouldn't play, but we got 4 games, right? And we got to watch the weather in 2 of them still. So we got to be careful. So let's just make sure, we're paying attention, watching what's going on. And I think, more I talk about it here, I think Cubs, Nats, Pirates for me are where I'll probably be looking because I'm going to be rostering Glass now, especially on FanDuel. I think that's where I'm going to primarily pull. I do like Tucker as the one-off, as I mentioned. But other than that, yeah, for me, I'm just gonna stack up and kind of live in those ponds.
So we did just get the Astros lineup actually, and it's pretty normal. John Singleton is playing first though instead of Abreu in the 6th spot. 2.6K on DK. Very good price right there at just another very good first base position. So I think that's interesting. Then we got Pirates lineup. McCutcheon's in there. Was he expected to be in there? In the 5 spots? Yeah, he was. Yeah, the Pittsburgh lineup looks pretty normal though. So nothing changes there. Houston, Pittsburgh, 2 of the most popular teams on the slate. Wanted to make sure lineup. So John Singleton, 2.6K at first, becomes a good play for sure. Last game on the slate. What's going on, Marquis? Someone else said something about your background. You got Chet Lemon on that wall, Gyiraszin somewhere?
I thought I might because I have the 84 Tigers picture somewhere around here. I kind of try to move it around, but those are like some of my better cards that I have. That
Torkelson. Those are his Torkelson.
Yeah, there's
spots.
a Torkelson in there. There's a Wayne Gretzky, Lemieux, Pete Rose, some Jordans. I got Riley Greens, Ripken, Shohei, Bonds. Like
this man really just put Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green amongst some of the greatest of all time in every sport. Detroit, home of the Mags. Please, Alexander went deep. That kid's good. That kid is good. Word in the Chicago is the rain and light snow won't let up till 9 p.m. Woo, yep. Thanks for that, King of Smack. I will definitely be monitoring. I'll be refreshing Ross page. That's what I mean when I say refreshing. Show off. Hey, he didn't even say his best two things. A little Stevie Yzerman, a little Pavel Datsyuk, Gordie Howe up there. Come on, those are the best what he has behind. Last game,
you have a Gordie Howe up there.
You do?
But I'm 52 years old. I've been around a long damn time, so I have probably a lot more time to collect this kind of stuff. I'll check in when you guys are 52. We'll see what kind of shit you got, but I wish I could go back and get me some of them Jordans. I always say, what could you tell your, 12-year-old self? Jordans and Gretzky's. Line them up.
Yeah. Go back, 40 years, and I can see the future. Yeah, I wish I knew that too. I'd have a lot more money.
Right. And invest in Pfizer.
Brown. We talked about this. I think Brown definitely has the higher pitch count. I think it's going to be little for an inning probably, and then Brown is how it sounds. It sounds like Brown will get more of the bulk, so I prefer him. At 4K. Let's get to the last game on the slate, Gyiraszin. Yeah, appreciate y'all hanging out. 4 games, maybe even 3. You guys watching here on MLB, we really do appreciate that. The grinders out here. NBA going on tonight as well. PGA, Hoop and Tambo did a show, locking in tomorrow morning. NASCAR, MMA. If you want to join the nation, if you want all the sports, use promo code HOOP15, monthly, 6-month, annual packages, $69 a month before using code HOOP15, 6-month cheaper, annual our cheapest rate. If you just want MLB for the season, though, can't beat the price. $14 a week, $39 a month, $229 for the year for projections, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, core reports, Discord, etc. You can even get it cheaper, though. That monthly and season will go down to about $33 and $195 for the season. If you do use promo code MLB15, gets you 15% off. Last game, Gyiraszin, pretty easy over here. Giants, Dodgers, 8.5 total. Kyle Harrison, Tyler Glass now on the mound. I ain't playing these Giants. If you want all the direct leverage in the world, it's not the craziest thing. A 4-game slate with someone that's going to be 80% owned maybe or whatever it is, it's baseball. Crazy things can happen. Brian Bello just got shelled yesterday. Shelled, but not great. Totally different. Glass now, Bello, Oakland, whatever. But I don't think on a small slate against someone clear as day the chalk, Tyler Glasnow maybe gets hit around. Giants win you all the money. It's all you need for the year. Dodger side, though, I will say I like the Pirates and Astros a little more than the Dodgers if I had to pick. Because I respect this Kyle Harrison guy a bit. Like, he's good against lefties. Ohtani's there. Freddie Freeman's there. Muncy's there. It's some of the best bats you want. I think if I stack the Dodgers, I want to go wraparound. I'll take the Mookie in the one hole, and whoever they put down there, Kiki Hernandez should be in against a lefty. Always love Kiki against lefties. Chris Taylor should be in there. Will Smith, that catcher. Like, give me the righties, give me a wraparound. And I always love Kiki, baby. So Kiki Hernandez.
I was saying, Kiki, do you love me? Every time I click his name.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's been one of my guys that I've liked over the years. But yeah, the Dodgers stand out. Just kind of. I start peeking at, the stats so far this year. Mookie's hitting 500. Will Smith's hitting 429. Freeman's hitting 414. Dodgers are smashing it as a team. So, something to be looking at. Mookie is just Mookie Betts. He's my favorite bat of the day next to Tao Tucker. It's pretty obvious. Mookie is Mookie. The dude's amazing. He's just fun to watch. And he's fun to root for, too. Like, when he's up to bat, it's just – and if he gets on first, he steals, and it's just like – he's just great. That's what makes it
for his height and his weight and everything. The dude is just so how fast he gets to the ball and it's insane.
And he bowled 300s. He's like a 220 average bowler too. So
that's why you like him. Finally, all connected.
He's from my
neighborhood. Finally connected.
Yeah. So, but I think this game is definitely interesting. But as you said, they could beat up Glass now. He's been beat up before. He blows up. He has those blow up games, but. I'm not going there. I'm locking in Glass now. If you wanted to go the other way, sure, you're MMEing. I wouldn't hate you for it. But Dodgers for me all the way up at the top. Just like him too much. Will Smith, as I mentioned, been hitting the ball pretty well. So definitely like him. But for me, Dodgers. And as I said, we're going to have to watch the weather on that Cubs game. So if they're not going to play till 9:00, we got a couple people got bit in the ass from that Mets and Tiger game last night, kind of thinking that might be able to go off, and probably tried to sneak in a few of those guys. And then as time went on, they just ended up, pulling the plug on it. So warning too, I hate them Nats games, man. The Nationals suck with rainouts.
Well, don't jinx anything today.
I'm just saying, man, they frustrated me a few times in the past. So you burn me once, I'm not going to forget about that shit. So
I'm glad you said that, actually, because Pitt, I should have mentioned from the top, Pitt, Washington, Roth does have his yellow, which yellow looks like awesome on slates like this, with so many of these orange games. But I am happy you said that. I thought it was a green and there was no worries, and you said it. It is yellow on here, and Washington is they pull some fuckery plenty of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
they want that parking money and that, people get their beer money and shit, and then they go, oh, no game. Like, assholes.
I mean, this slate, please. It's 6:45. Like, it's the first game of the night. Oh, I didn't mention that either.
Don't forget that 6:45 start. Yeah. It's 20 minutes. Don't think you're going there at like 10-7. You'll be pissed off.
Yeah.
Well, there is only one game, I think, out the gate, isn't there, too? The one game, 6:45, Pitt and Washington. So you wouldn't be able to have any of that if so. You'd be stuck with the other games, which may not be a bad thing, but it's my favorite game, though, for bats.
Yeah. So, monitor that. That game's at 6:45 Eastern. Then we got 7:40, 8:10, 10:10 Eastern. Again, everything will be up on the site. Gyiraszin already has the slate plan up. Cores will be going up. Class report, projections up. Ceiling, or I keep saying NBA is in my mind, man. Not ceiling rankings, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, all on the site as well. Get in the Discord if you do join. Again, if you just want MLB, use promo code MLB15. Monthly full season packages comes out to about $1 a day, $33 a month in terms of MLB for monthly, $195 for the year after you use promo code MLB15. Can't beat that price. If you want to just check it out for the weekly, $14 a week as well. If you want PGA content, which is up, MMA, NASCAR, NBA, which is going on tonight as well, head over SHIPIT.com, Hoop15 gets you 15% off. Final words for the people, Gyiraszin.
Man, good luck tonight. Like I said, pay attention to the weather. And old Benny there, 52, grew up in Livonia. I drank beer with Mark the Bird Fidrich at Coach's Corner one night. We got absolutely shit-faced. He was doing a card signing. And that guy was the coolest guy. It was about a year before he passed away. And, man, that still bugs me today when I think about that, because that guy was like just a genuine, nice person. Like, you just came across. He just was a nice guy for who he was, to treat everybody the way he did in that bar that night. It started out, he said he wasn't doing shots, and it was one of them nights I think I did about a dozen shots and had a great time. So great memory there. Mark the Bird is definitely somebody I grew up, watching here in Detroit, talking the baseball and everything else, and kind of a weirdo. I kind of always like that kind of shit. So, But so, hey, title, let's whoop some ass here tonight. We got some golf to build. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Make sure you get in there. We got big MMA coming up this week. So all kinds of fun going on here. So, hey, we still got some work to do while we're doing some baseball. But I got to build some golf lineups. I got to go bowl some 300s here, get back, do some more golf, and then get ready for tomorrow. So be at it here tomorrow. But, looking forward to it. So let's go. Let's kick some ass. Let's ship it.
You have a great night tonight, Gyiraszin. Win some money. Bowl of 300 tomorrow. Light slate. Will the quick hit up? It's either 3 games. Maybe DraftKings will put 4 on it, but very light. 3-game slate tomorrow. Quick hit will be up. All the content, of course. Cheers to you, Greg. Awesome stuff, Benny. Good to see you. Gyiraszin. A lot of Michigan folks in here. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe on the way out. Have a great night, everybody. Join SHIPITNation.com, Hoop15 or MLB15 for Gyiraszin. I'm Titletown. Have a good night. Be safe.